What really happens on year 2 with your GLP-1? Here's the good, the challenging, and what to expect up next. Hi, I'm Dr. Meghan. I'm an obesity medicine physician and weight loss coach, helping you cut through the pseudoscience and confusion in weight care. My approach combines evidence-based medicine with real behavioral change. So you don't just take medications, you actually transform your health. So what can you really expect year 2 on your GLP-1? Let's talk about it. So here's the good news. It's very possible you may lose more weight. For example, in the Surmount 4 study, which looked at patients who were on high-dose tirzepatide for 36 weeks, they lost on average about 20% of their total body weight. But then they continue to follow them for 88 weeks total, so over a year and a half. And what they found is on average, those patients lost total on average 25% of their total body weight. And in a semaglutide meta-analysis, that means looking at a bunch of studies, after 68 weeks, a third of the patients had a relative weight loss of 20% or more. So what that tells me, and what I also can see from clinically watching patients year to year, is that not only is the weight loss very steady for most people, and then the medication keeps them there once they're on their maintenance dose, but actually for some people, they may even continue to lose a little bit more after they first reach that maintenance stage. Now, here's the other thing that I have noticed for people who have been on this for over a year, is that sometimes the food noise comes back. So, and it doesn't really seem to correlate with any weight change, but people notice, ooh, my appetite came back a little bit more. The food noise came back a little bit more. So I bring that up because if it does come back, I don't want anybody to panic, but I do want you to have a plan in place, because some people, they get on the medication and they think, oh, I'm done with that forever. No more food noise. I can just outsource that to the medication. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it does tend to creep back a little bit. So if it comes back, don't panic, but just come up with a plan on how you want to deal with that. And it might be that the food noise comes back, day 6, day 7, right before you do your injection. And you might want to play, maybe we don't have those days fall on a weekend. Like, you may want to play around with the dosing a little. You may want to eat a little differently on those days. But the goal is that you have some sort of intentional plan for that. And I work with clients on that all the time. The other thing that happens for people is they come to me and they say, it stopped working. And I think that is a very, very dangerous narrative. So, because, naturally our brain kind of skews negative to begin with. And then a lot of times people who are on these medications, they are on them because they've tried a lot of things and they haven't worked. And so for something to work just seems like way too good to be true. So if something goes slightly wrong in a direction that they weren't anticipating, it's very common for people to really, really take that hard and really, really think that, like, okay, this is one more thing that's just not going to work, and kind of go down that mental, like, nod at home if this is you. Like, this happens for people, and you really want to be careful with that narrative of it stopped working, because you're not going to lose weight forever. You don't want to lose weight forever. So the fact that it stopped working isn't really what's going on for people. The fact is that on average, let's take Zepbound, for example. On average, people are going to lose about 20% of their total body weight, but they're not usually going to lose 40% of their total body weight. And they're not going to just keep losing forever. And you don't want that, right? So this is what happens for people start, their weight's here, then it's exciting, and then it levels out, probably around that 20% mark for most people, and it's boring forever. And so it's not that the medication has stopped working, it's just holding you at that new normal weight, but it's not going to go beyond that. So every dose generally takes people to this new kind of normal at that dose, and then your maintenance dose holds you there, and then it's boring forever. But of course, as I always say, Boring is great. You want to be boring, right? You don't want to be medically exciting. So it's going to be boring forever and it's holding you there. It is maybe, let's say it's actively holding you there while you work on all the other things that you're working on, how you're eating, how you're exercising, like making sure you're sleeping, you're making sure your schedule is conducive to a healthy lifestyle. Like there's so many other things that we want to be working on, but eventually the medication is going to be boring in a good way, and it's holding you actively at your maintenance weight. But it's generally, and like I just said, you might get a little bit further. You might lose another like 5%. That might happen, but it's not going to do another 20% for most people. And finally, if you're on year 2, you've probably gotten pretty used to the medication. Ideally, you have a good routine around what you're eating and how you're exercising, but it's really important year 2 and beyond to stay vigilant. I cannot emphasize this enough. You cannot outsource everything to this medication. And I know it's really tempting to do that, but the name of the game is consistency. So you can't just expect it to do everything. You can't expect it to choose healthy food for you. You can't expect the medication to get you to the gym. Yes, a lot of times there is that positive momentum of seeing the number on the scale moving down, and that can be enough for people to really lean into these changes. But I also have patients who, they watch the scale, but and we talk about this all the time, they are not changing what they're eating. They are not changing their exercise habits. They are not leaning into that. And for me, I hate to see that happen because you're leaving results on the table. I want every single person out there on this medication. I want you to get the maximum beneficial results from this medication. And to do that, you need to, see what the medication can do, but also see what you can do, because there's certain things that only you can do. And I definitely have patients who, they started going to the gym and then they stopped and then they gained 10 pounds maybe, and they're very frustrated. They don't know what's going on. And like 100% of the time, it's always been, we can figure out what the weight gain was from, and it's been something lifestyle related that they forgot they were doing, or they just stopped doing, or for whatever reason, it just fell off the radar. And so this is an important lesson for everybody, that whatever changes we're making them forever. We're making them so they're sustainable. And so choose wisely in terms of what you're going to do so you can keep it up. But you also have to have the idea of, I'm taking the medication forever, but I'm also making these lifestyle changes forever. I'm going to do everything I can do to help this medication work to its fullest potential. If you have questions after, please leave them in the comment section and I will find them. I will add them to the list. If you are curious about how to work with me directly, if you are curious as to how weight loss coaching can help you get these beneficial maximum results for people, I do work with people on this, people around the world as a weight loss coach to help them really take their results to the next level. So I'll leave all that info down below. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and please be well.